What is up, everybody? What is up? It is Eric here, back on Zero Ink Gaming, and we are not alone this week. We are bringing you our RWL draft analysis with the man, the myth, the legend, Dax.
What's up, YouTube? It's Daxdleader here.
All right, guys. So, RWL is a league by my friend Kohan, and he wanted me to join for Season 2, so I said yes. Chance to show off our new team logo, the Rocky Mountain Heavy Metals. You've probably seen it if you're in the Discord server. If you're not in there, be sure to check it out. I believe Dax has one, so I'm going to link that down there below, so be sure to go in there, help him out with his team building. He does a lot of cool stuff in there.
Why, thank you.
Alright, so this is one of those, what's this, the APA 3 draft thing?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So this is our first draft. We're going to be coming at you with 2 more after this one. Not today, obviously. But I think we'll just get right into it in our first pick, and I'll just kind of let Dax kind of take over because he drafted the majority of this team while I was kind of on vacation. So I'm gonna let Dax take it away as we go into our first pick, Kieran Black.
All right. So what ended up happening is that we had the 6th pick overall, I believe, and Kieran Black was still on the board. So in that case, I believe you can't not take it. Kieran Black is a fantastic Pokemon with just very limited switch-ins. A lot of people say it's the best wall breaker in the game, and definitely a top 5 pick in my opinion.
Definitely.
So that's what we're going to be building our team around.
All right. Yeah, I've used Kieran Black a couple of times. Definitely a monster. Can do a bunch of different sets, especially having access to Roost, which is really nice, along with Life Orb ability. So I'm really excited. Did we make this our Z user?
We did make this.
All right,
we
guys.
did.
We got this, and we got one other Z user. We got to pick 2. Our other one's a little unorthodox, but I think it works. We'll go right on to our next pick, and that's Mega Diancie Dax. This one's named after you. This is your mon, so go ahead, take it away.
It's sort of my mascot. My team in Draft League is the Montreal Canadienses. So I'm particularly fond of Mega Diancie. Great speed tier, great offensive fairy to pair with Kyurem. And how many coaches are there in this season? Is it 16?
I think there's 16, yeah.
16. So yeah, coming back around, I was very surprised that Mega Diancie was still on the board, but having an excellent offensive dragon paired with an excellent offensive fairy is a great place to get started. And Mega Diancie also has the benefit of bouncing back hazards that Kyurem really hates, as well as studying rocks in itself.
Nice. Really like that about Mega Diancie. The nice 110 speed is very nice. 160 in both attacks is great because gives us access to Diamond Storm, which hits like a truck even with minus attack nature, which is still really good. We would have gotten sniped out of this had we waited an extra turn, because Hef was going to take it actually the turn after us. So he was going to take it next. Alright, on to our next mon. Who do we have up here? It is Skarmory.
Alright. Skarmory worked out really well. It was probably the best steel available, but what differentiates Skarmory from a lot of other steel types is access to spikes. And it gets spikes, it gets stealth rock, and it gets defog. So it forms like a really nice hazard core with Diancie, because very few mons beat both Skarmory and Diancie. So one of them is going to be able to get rocks up pretty much every week. And we already went into this draft with a bit of a plan. We knew we wanted hazard stack. So getting arguably the best spiker in the game was really nice for us. And already, only after our first 3 picks, we have completed our Fairy Dragon Steel core.
Oh yeah, this core feels really nasty, and I'm used Skarmory in a couple other leagues as well. And this just it feels really good with this team, especially in the coming weeks of team building. So I'm really excited to have Skarmory on the team. All right, next up on the board we have the Water Spooter. There we go. Aquanid. Arquanid? How's it pronounced? Araquanid. Oh, like Arachnid.
Yeah. All right. So this is another mon that we kind of said we wanted before the draft even started, because we wanted hazard stack. We wanted to pair something like Kiramadiancy with Sticky Web, and Araquanid does a fantastic job of that. It's got pretty good defensive synergy with the rest of the mons on our team as well, resisting fighting for Kiram, which our Fairy and Steel don't. Yeah. It also resists. Well, its weaknesses are complemented by the Kiram, as in Kiram is a resist to electric. Typically water types are pretty good with the Fairy and Dragon Steel Core. That's what I tend to do. I try to grab my water early to synergize with my Dragon in particular, and because this one has access to Sticky Web as well as like the potential to really break through teams with a banded set, yeah, Araquanid fit really well here, I think.
I've used this Mon in the beginning of Gen 7, and it was quite fun to use. I don't think it had Sticky Web when it first came out, though. It wasn't until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So excited to have that utility with it, along with Water Bubble, which is just amazing ability for it. Water Absorb is another nice ability it has, so I'm excited to see how we can use both of these abilities this season. Alright, on to our next pick. We did get sniped out of a pick, but we did have a nice contingent backup here, and that is Digger's B.
Yep, that's right. We initially wanted Dugtrio, actually, because it provided a really nice speed tier. Our team was looking kind of slow at this point, but instead we grabbed a secondary physical breaker, being that Diggers be a nice ground type to give us an electric immunity as well, because that was something we were lacking, having two of our more defensive mons being weak to electric. A ground type is really nice. This also gives us a second spiker and our first user of momentum on the team.
Oh, yeah, this was it's a good pick. I like it. Choice band, quick attack just wrecks lives against opponents, so I'm excited to use that. I've also seen Darude use a very, very terrible cheek pouch set, which we might need to bring sometime. It was good, but awful to face. All right, on to our next mon. Dax was wanting something that could. He wanted something that was had momentum. Wanted a spin blocker. I don't know if he wanted a defog user, but I'm like, here, this thing gets everything you want all in one, and we picked up Decidueye.
Yeah, Decidueye's been a go-to mon for me for a while because it just offers so much. Like Eric said, U-turn, defog, spin blocking. It can trap with Spirit Shackle, and it feels a nice. Well, actually, we had the 70 speed tier already, but it can be run more offensive than Skarmory in a lot of situations. So if I want to run that max speed, it does fill that speed tier a bit better than Skarmory does. So Decidueye is a super nice addition to any team, and like a premier grass type in my opinion.
Yeah. I like that it also gives us gives us fighting immunity since we added the Digger's Bee, and our other flying does not resist. So that's really nice. All right, next up is another water that we added, but I think this one adds a little something different for us, and that is Swampert.
That's right. We picked up Swampert to have another Stealth Rocker because our previous ground type didn't get Stealth Rocker in Digger's Bee. So we wanted another rocker, and we also wanted another water type, a little bit more defensive than Araquanid. Typically, you usually see Araquanid as either like an offensive trapper or a sticky web setter, or even just a breaker in its own. But Swampert is typically going to be run as a dedicated wall with that Stealth Rock, and it also has perfect defensive synergy with our Skarmory, which is something that Araquanid did not, which is, yeah. Steel types and water types are two mons that I like to have two of on pretty much every team, and you'll see later on this trend holds true. But yeah, Swampert just covers things that Araquanid does not, and really fills that water type role, that like the bulky water type that's typically necessary on draft teams.
I'm really excited to use Swampert. It feels really good with this team. It just kind of really pairs well, I think, with how the team is built. So I'm really excited to have Swampert on the team. It just kind of completes it, I think. All right, on to our next pick. Dax, we were looking for a fairy killer. We were looking for a psychic immunity or a psychic resist. And I'm like, well, Drapion's just sitting right there looking at us, so let's go right into it.
It was right there. And at this point, yeah, like we said earlier, like I said rather, Skarmory is not a mon that I love having as my only steel type because it's not great on the Spadef side. So I wanted the secondary resistance to Psychic. So we picked up Drapion. And Drapion also gives us T-Spikes, so now we have every hazard in the game, which is huge. I think it's our second knockoff user, alongside Diggersby,
yep.
I think. Alright, so we got that Stab Dark to deal with bulky Psychics as well, which I think is super important. If you don't draft a Dark type, then stuff like Reuniclus can just run like Calm Mind, Trick Room, and like Mono Psychic can just run through you, stuff like Reuniclus, stuff like Mew. So just drafting any Dark type kinda alleviates that for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also a Dark type that's not weak to Fairy, which was also important to us because our Skarmory, like I said, was not the best Fairy check in the game. And as you're going to see later with our final pick, we had basically figured out the rest of the draft at this point, and we knew what checks we were and were not going to be able to pick up two types such as Psychic and Fairy. So yeah, you'll see that with our last pick.
All right. All right, on to our next pick. This is a little, I think we kind of reached for this one, but I think it was kind of needed where we were at the draft. We needed a fast electric. We needed something that was over Diance's speed. So we got the fastest, I think, electric mon in the game, and that is Electrode.
That's right. Yeah, it's a tier 5, but and it's like we still have 2 more picks. But looking at the rest of the draft pool, I figured that people wouldn't snipe what we were looking at because they already had the types in question. So we went with Electrode. It pairs extremely well with Araquanid in particular. Araquanid loves being alongside fast electric types. And yeah, it's another fast momentum user to get in our huge breakers like that Diggersby, like the Kyurem, like the Diancie.
Yeah.
So that's just a really nice utility piece, and it sort of, I wouldn't say patched up our speed tiers, we just needed something really fast.
Yeah. This is really nice. And it's our second Z user. I thought this would be good because its special attack's not the greatest. So giving it an ability to just take a huge chunk with the powered up Z move, I thought would be very good for this. That way when we do bring it, it can come in and wreck what we need it to do. Alright, on to our second to last pick. As Dax said, he wants a second steal. We needed another kind of psychic resist, and we picked up Bronzong.
Yes, that's right. Our second steel type resists Fairy, resists Psychic, which Skarmory couldn't do. And it's also another ground immunity, which we only had one of. What's nice about having Bronzong with Skarmory in particular is that we don't necessarily need it as our ground immunity. So this frees us up to run a potentially a heat-proof set much more freely than a lot of teams that draft Bronzong. So I thought that was really cool. It gives us an additional Stealth Rocker. It gives us the Trick Room option should we need it. And it's another like good offensive hazard setter in its own right. A lot of steel types tend to be too passive. Something like Registeel is a mon that comes to mind, right? If you want a second steel with like some Spadef, a lot of people get Registeel, but that's super passive. Bronzong can run something like a Trick Room Stealth Rock Explosion sort of offensive set that I've seen work really well. It anti-leads super well against a lot of mons. I believe it gets Skill Swap to take out some Magic Bouncers, and it's a great stop to Diancie actually, which and Kyurem as well. So removing a mon that's a pain for us to face is always nice.
Alright, yeah, I've used Bronzong. I haven't had it, I don't think I've ever used it to its fullest potential, but I have used Bronzong a few times. I brought heat proof against a Torn T, so that way he would try and come in and heat wave me and just do 0 while I just blast him with the gyro ball. So it's another mon that just feels, the team just feels really nice. Like Dax drafted us a really solid team, and this last mon kind of brings everything together. And that last mon is our firefighting chicken Blaziken.
That's right. Like I said before, our last pick, we kind of knew we were going to get Blaziken. We wanted a base 80 speed mon because that was a big hole we were missing. We had like a gap between Kyurem and like Skarmory Decidueye, right?
Yeah.
So something right in the middle of those is super important. Normal types are always like fat normals are always annoying to deal with. So a nice physical fighting type is almost as necessary as a dark type, in my opinion. And they pair well together. In fact, Drapion being able to break down those bulky psychics and ghost types with Drapion's also a pursuit trapper, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's huge. For something like Blaziken to just go ham with the its fighting type attacks, but the reason we picked up something like Bronzong, something like Drapion when we did, is because we knew we wanted Blaziken, which is a fire type that does not resist fairy, and it's also another psychic weakness. So we really felt like we needed to patch up those holes right there.
Oh yeah.
Blaziken gets us that nice 80 base speed tier, 2 Titans we didn't have previously in fighting and fire, and I believe it gets baton pass as well. I don't think we're allowed to actually pass stats, or I don't think we're allowed to pass speed at all, like with an agility type of set.
I'd have to check.
But
yeah.
It's a nice momentum gainer. Like a lot of people think of Darmanitan and Infernape as the premier like choice mons that can turn out, but Blaziken with that baton pass can do a very similar type of set, and can go mixed as well. So it's a pretty underrated mon, I think, and I think it's going to do really well for us this season.
I like this mon. I'm sad that we don't get to use the speed boost, but I mean it makes it pretty good. I don't think it's super broken, but that's just me. Maybe because I just want to use it. But I've always liked Blaziken, just a cool design. So I'm really excited to use that, and excited for the team. Let me know your thoughts down below on the team. Be sure to check out Dax. His channel will be linked as well. He's done some videos with Goldoa and some other. I believe you've done videos with other GBA coaches.
Yep, I've worked with 2 other GBA coaches, being Aster and Lars, in my Tips with Pros series, which is that's just one of the things I do. I've got a lot of.
He's got a lot of stuff. He's got some cool ladder videos. The Tips with Pros I think is really cool, and you kind of get to see inside mind of what these pros are good with, and how they use it to great potential. So that's all for me. I don't know if you want to plug any more, Dax.
No, you've plugged enough. Thanks so much. That was very generous of you. I had a blast.
No problem. Well, thank you, Dax,
for this team and recording. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for helping me with this draft and making it as kick-ass as it is. I hope at the next draft we can do even better. In the third draft, we can continue that trend and make the playoffs, and then we have just a solid team to draft from our 3 drafts. So
anytime, my friend.
All right, guys. With that, as always, bros, keep gaming.